Welcome to my channel. This is JC Rock and Metal Reviews. My name is John. Today we're doing a thrash metal legend. The band is called Sodom, and this is the new release, X1X or number 19. Sodom is a German thrash metal band. They founded in 1981. When they started, they were more of like influential with the black metal, but they moved into thrash later on. They're known as the Big Four of German thrash metal, or called the Teutonic Thrash. Big Four. Other bands in that genre are Creator, Tankard, and Destruction. These are all German thrash metal bands. So the new album is Genesis 19, and let's go through this track by track. The first track is Blind Superstition. This is just a 1 minute intro instrumental. It's a very old school thrashy sounding song, but it segues into the next track, which is Sodom and Gomorrah, and the song is a super fast, thrashy, old school, has a really heavy breakdown, really super fast thrashy song. Track number 3 is Euthanasia. This is another very fast-paced, high energy. The drums, they sound really good on this. Has a really shredding solo on this one. Track number 4 is Genesis 19. This is the title track. They slow it down a little bit in this one. You get a lot of atmosphere, some feedback in the intro. It goes into a slower thrash riff. It takes the pace down a little bit, but it gets heavy, kind of builds up. This one kind of reminds me a little bit of like the 90s Slayer, has kind of an influence on it. This is a really good track. Track number 5 is Nicht mein, let me try it again. Nicht mehr mein Land. So this is in German, and according to Google Translate, it means not my country anymore. Old school thrash, 4.5 minutes. This is really cool song. Number 6 is Glock and Roll. This is fast-paced, old school thrash song. The riffs, pretty melodic, pretty heavy breakdown, solo, really good stuff. Track number 7, The Harpooner. This is another 7 minute, 10-second song. Again, it's atmospheric, it slows it down a little bit. Again, this one reminds me of the 90s Slayer, Seasons of the Abyss kind of era. Moves along, gets into like a classic thrash, gets heavy, and very thrashy, old school. This is a really good song. Track number 8 is Dehumanized. This one's a little slower, gives it maybe a little of like a death, doom, metal vibe. So the song has a really good drum fills. It gets a little thrashy after like 1 minute. It's a pretty cool guitar fills, very atmospheric. It's a really good song. Number 9, Occult Perpetrator. This one is a little slower. The intro reminds me of a little, maybe early Megadeth, and goes into a mid-tempo thrash riff. This has maybe a little more of a catchy sound. Again, returning to that like 90s Slayer sound. A lot of like different like drum fills and sounds. This is a very strong track. Number 10 is Waldo and Pigpen. Now I want to look this up because it kind of sounded like cartoon characters, so these are 2 soldiers from Vietnam. They were helicopter pilots, and basically they were able to hold off the enemy when a lot of their people below were kind of surrounded. So it's a pretty cool story. But as far as the song goes, it's the second longest song. It's 6 minutes and 26 seconds. It's a little slow, has some clean guitars, but it's a thrash. It still retains that old school thrash sound. It's mid-tempo. It speeds up at times, but it's still very retro thrash metal, which is pretty much what this whole album is. 2 more songs. Track number 11 is Indoctrination. This is like a super fast, it's only 3 minutes, but it's really heavy breakdown ripping. This is really super heavy song. And the final track is Friendly Fire. This is thrashy. This is the closer track, 3.5 minutes. Heavy track, but it just closes off the album nicely. So basically, what do I think of this album? It's a return to the roots, a return to old school thrash. There are a lot of like metal subgenres right now, but back in the 80s when they started, there were a lot fewer genres. And this is really for the thrash fan, someone who is really into the old school thrash metal. When I was younger, I didn't really pay too much attention to this band. I was into the big four. I was into the Metallica, Anthrax, Slayer, Megadeth, Testament, Exodus, those bands, like the Bay Area bands. The German bands, I didn't start listening to until later on. Maybe recently, a couple years ago, I started listening to Creator. This band, Sodom, they have a vast catalog. I haven't heard it all. I've heard like the big albums, M16. I've heard Agent Orange. But this is a really good band. This is a very strong release. And I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 because it's a solid album. It's a throwback to the 80s, that like 89, 90, those like thrash albums that came out in that era. So definitely highly recommend this. Thank you for watching. Comment below, what do you think of the new Sodom album? And how does it stand up against their other albums if you're somebody who has listened to all of their catalog? I have some new releases coming up. Smashing Pumpkins. I had a request for Phil Campbell and the Bastard Sons. That's a pretty cool family band. I'm going to listen to it and I'll probably do a review of that. And moving on, I have some more new releases coming in early December. So stick around for that. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you soon.